Welcome back. So let's talk about that fight between the world's most powerful man, Donald Trump, the president of the United States of America, and his one's lover, if you will, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. In fact, I checked in on Forbes today. Elon is $26 billion poorer. That's the way they put it.
But it's still number one.
That kind of poverty is a good one, by the way. Anyway, so background to the story. Elon left Doge a few weeks ago, and then, you know, there was some bill that was sent forth. We talked about it yesterday, the big, beautiful bill that will initiate some tax cuts and also maybe upscale the spending limit of America.
And increase the deficit by 2.5
yes,
trillion.
and then, yes, increase that spending limit, then increase the deficit. So Elon was not happy at all. It looks like this is retrogressive. This is not what we're fighting for. And he tweeted, well, Trump was meeting with the Chancellor of Germany, and then in that conversation, he talked about Elon's statement. He was disappointed with Elon's statement and all of that. But so since then, Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they've been at each other. So let's begin the movie for you. So this is part of what has played out so far. This is Donald Trump tweeting saying,
on his truth
handle, rather. Yes, because somebody was asking, is he fighting Elon on Elon's X?
Nah, he chose to do it on his truth.
So I'm wondering, is Elon also on the truth social media?
No, what Elon does is that he picks the truth, it screenshots.
So he's checking truth,
yes,
as well as responding on X.
So, so check out this one. He said the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, let me use Donald Trump's voice, is to terminate Elon's government subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. Well, let's find out.
But it didn't end there.
He didn't end there.
Right. So Trump, again, put up another post.
And then I would say, Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted. So, see, swipe. That he knew for months I was going to do. And he just went crazy. Now let's open the next chapter. Elon's reply.
Okay, so let's go to X now. And here's what Elon is saying on X. Time to drop the really big bomb. At real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. Now, this reference to the Epstein files is the man who was, you know, investigated for... convicted for trafficking, and he took his own life in while in jail. Jeffrey Epstein, I believe.
And not my own, by the way.
No, I said Epstein, Jeffrey. So, well, I believe that this question was put through to Mr. President. That would be President Donald Trump yesterday, but he didn't respond to it. And, you know, Mr. President has also been interviewed in the past, I believe in 2019, about Epstein, and he talked about a relationship with him, and in fact, you know, he applauded the man. But in subsequent interviews after Epstein was investigated and tried, he distanced himself from Epstein. So, but there is no evidence yet to prove that Donald Trump has any links with Epstein.
Well,
but this is...
He's claiming he's an insider, he knows what. Let's bring in...
No, they parted together. They had, I mean, a lot of people saw them together.
So he's saying he has doubled down, actually, that truth will come out someday, somehow, because each of them is dropping things on each other. So let's bring in our guest, our public affairs analyst, Dayo Akintobi, is joining us virtually. Mr. Akintobi, I'm sure you're looking smiling. I don't know. Me, I'm just enjoying this show where the richest man and the most powerful men are fighting. This is one spectation I love to see. What's your take?
It's interesting to see because they say when two elephants are fighting, it's the grass that gets hurt. As you rightly noted, one is the most powerful man politically, and the other is the most powerful man economically. And the alliance was a marriage of strange bedfellows to begin with. First of all, they both have very similar personalities. They're both mercurial, irascible, erratic, and to some extent, they both love showboating. So you could see it was inevitable that someday, when their interests no longer aligned, there would be a massive fallout, which is what we are seeing now. I don't think it's surprising because ultimately politics is all about interests. Everything done in politics is all about interests. So in this particular case, Donald Trump's political interests or political agenda doesn't align with Elon's economic ideals, and that's led to this falling out. Primarily, the main cause of this is because of the bill that Trump has put forward. But if we look back in the past, they've had a tumultuous relationship all the way as far back as Donald Trump's first term. If I recall, in 2016, Musk had actually described him as an unfit character. He said he was not fit to rule the country or to run the country because his character was deficient. And that created a spat at that point in time, but some kind of way they made up. And Trump actually had, appointed him to some economic council during his first term. That didn't last because Elon resigned and said, well, he couldn't be a part of an administration that denied climate change. This was when Trump pulled America out of the Paris Accord. Of course, Elon's entire platform, the whole purpose of his making money, or the whole basis of his making money, is this notion of the fact that climate change is having a negative environmental impact. How do we reduce greenhouse gases? So his electric cars are selling on the basis of the fear that greenhouse gases and climate change are having a deleterious effect on our environment that will hurt us down the road. So if Trump is pulling out of the Paris Accord, saying climate change is rubbish, it doesn't exist, it's nonsense, that conflicts with Elon's economic agenda. So they had that falling out in the beginning because Elon just resigned from that committee and said he could no longer be a part of any agency, identity, or organization that denies climate change. So that killed their relationship the first time around. And then when in the run-up to this second election, Elon said he's not supporting any candidate, which is standard for any major businessman in a democracy. You don't really openly, publicly support any particular candidate. Reason being, if that candidate loses, the person who wins may hold it against you that, hey, you supported my opponent, and now I'm in power, and all of a sudden all the advantages you are deriving from government may begin to become under scrutiny. So astute businessmen don't wear their political affiliations on their lapel for the world to see. I can't imagine a Dangote in Nigeria openly, or a Tony Elumelu in Nigeria openly supporting any particular candidate. Generally, they either stay aloof or they give money to both campaigns. That way, they cover their bases. But in this particular election, Elon openly, and it happened immediately after the assassination attempt on Trump, he openly threw his lot in with Trump. I remember he offered $1 million a day to Trump supporters in the run-up to the election. He openly supported Trump. And when Trump won, Trump appointed him to this thing of Department of Government Efficiency to cut government spending. And in the process, which is highly unprecedented in almost any government, that an outsider would come to be so influential openly. Elon was fraternizing with the president, sitting in on cabinet meetings, despite the fact that he's not a cabinet member. So, look, what I just see has happened here is that their interests have diverged. They're both headstrong individuals. There's a Chinese saying that two tigers cannot live on one mountaintop. That's what has happened here. They are both powerful tigers in their own rights who basically rule their own spheres. And now their interests have diverged. It's not possible for them to continue working together. The sad thing is all the brickbats that are being thrown, the scuttlebutt about, oh, he was in the Jeffrey Epstein files, oh, Elon did this, Trump did that. I think that's taking it to a bit too low for people who are elder statesmen and role models. I don't think they should go this far.
And you know, Ms. Akitobi, your brief reference, you know, to the comparison between what obtains in our own climb and theirs is quite interesting. How would you find an Elumelu or a Dangote working for the administration and openly supporting the administration? So for a man like Musk, who is the world's richest man, you know, he was saying yesterday that without without him, Trump wouldn't have won the election. $288 million is being quoted as the sum that he offered to support Trump's re-election bid into the White House. So working for the administration, what would he be standing to gain? Is it political relevance? And certainly not to be paid. What are your thoughts on this? And in addition to that, really talk to us also about whether or not he knew that Trump was taking out the electric vehicle tax cuts from the budget plan, and that was the reason that he didn't support that bill.
When you have all the money in the world, the only other thing you can begin to seek is power, because this was a lose-lose for Elon all the way. From the moment he got into the administration and started running that Department of Government Efficiency, his economic fortunes have been on the decline. The shares of his company, Tesla, have tanked. His personal wealth has depleted. He wasn't collecting any salary. So you ask yourself, what really did he stand to gain? So, well, ideologically, he's claimed that he's conservative, but he's not necessarily a Republican. But at the end of the day, he also said he aligned with Trump in the belief that there was a lot of wastage in government, and that he, from a patriotic orientation, wanted to contribute his quota to making America great again. He bought into that MAGA ideology, or that MAGA trumpet from Trump, and began to play along those lines. But it affected him negatively in every aspect of the world. So maybe being an egotistic person, maybe he got a trip out of being one heartbeat away from power, from the power center, sitting next to Trump in the Oval Office. I even saw a video of the time when Trump was talking and Elon overtalked him and Trump kept quiet in the Oval Office. Unheard of. How can the President of the United States be speaking? Media is there, and an outsider comes and over-talks the president, and the president keeps quiet. So his power grew to unprecedented levels, and I think that was his ego trip. I think for him it was more psychological, because definitely he took an economic hit, a major one, from his fraternization or flirtation with government at any level. And with regards to your second question, it's kind of interesting to note that when, as a business person, you leave business interests and get too close to government, it never really works out well. I always say, to each his own. Let each person bestride his sector. Trump is the colossus in the political sector. Musk is the colossus in the economic sector. Let us all adhere to our areas of specialization and work to enhance those areas. Let's not start cross-carpeting. That's why I worry about when I see Nollywood actors beginning to try and sing, beginning to try and produce. I think that if you try to be a jack of all trades, you end up being not good at anything. So the area in particular that you specialize in, you should focus on that. And you know, this is not a good thing by any stretch of the imagination.
Certainly.
I think yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Certainly, Mr. Akitobi, pardon me. A lot of people are now saying this marriage is not lasting after all, because it looked like a match made in heaven, as you said. It looked like nothing could come in between them. Trump is speaking, and then Elon speaks, and he keeps quiet. Almost like when the husband is speaking, and the wife comes in, and the husband just respects himself, and the wife takes the day. But certainly, obviously, this is not going to last. I should say that there are those who don't believe this is real. Some people think that maybe these guys are just playing some sort of script. Yes, it sounds a bit ridiculous, sounds like all these conspiracy theories, but you look at it, everybody's downloading the Truth app now, trying to see Trump's posts on Truth. A lot of people are back on X now, trying to see Elon's. I mean, look at all the hits that their posts are getting. But again, Elon is losing a lot of money, stocks tanking, and all of that. But I want you to speak to one who maybe would be the winner eventually in all of this. One has economic power, as you said. The other has a political power, the most powerful man versus the world's richest man, right? So who wins eventually, and who loses away from both of them in terms of maybe the economy, politically? Who will be the biggest loser? As you said, when two elephants fight, the grass suffers.
Yes. Well, who is going to win this spot? As it is, as of this moment, Elon is on the back foot because his own interests are suffering. His core constituency is currently in decline, primarily because of what has happened. So I'd give Trump the edge at the moment. But like I said, they're two different spheres completely. Trump can be winning politically, but be losing economically. Elon is losing economically, but he might be gaining politically. But what I've seen, and you talked about conspiracy theories, could this be contrived? I think we pay too much attention to social media in Nigeria. A lot of what we read on social media is speculation, is contrived, is not grounded in facts, is speculation, is conspiracy theory. I think that if we do research into their history, which I mentioned at the beginning of this discussion, that they've had contention in the past that has led to a falling out. So I think they, and also the psychological analysis I did of their personalities that goes to show that they're both headstrong people. In any psychological setting whatsoever, when you have two people who are both headstrong, there is a tendency that they will clash from time to time. Also, like I said, when you marry that with what mainstream media is reporting, boy, they've got to be the greatest conspiratorial minds or the greatest Hollywood actors to be contriving this thing. I don't see it as being set up. I don't see it as it being contrived to increase their social media following. If that's what Elon is trying to do, well, it's obviously backfiring because his at the end of the day, the share price of his companies is down. So no matter how much traffic you get on social media, the place his real money is coming from is currently on the decline. So it's the value of his shares that gives him his wealth. Not he doesn't have liquid money per se. So if what is happening is reducing the shares, the value of the shares of his company, then it's not really helping his situation. Who is the ultimate loser? I think the American people and by and large the world at large is worse off for this, because I do think that to some extent that notion of reducing government expenditure was a noble one. We've cried about that here in Nigeria as well, that government spending should come down. That it's particularly poignant for me because that is a mantra we have here in Nigeria, that government spending is a big part of our budget and we have a deficit, and we keep asking the common people to tighten their belts and be patient and stuff like that. But government spending is still way overboard. And we say cut government expenditure. So in America, the same thing. But where I think Trump messed up is that he's the champion of cutting government expenditure, yet he went to submit a bill that is so humongous that will now require them to borrow to fund the deficit. And that's what Elon is saying. Elon hit back at him and said, how can you say you want to reduce government spending, yet you allow a lot of pork barrel into the budget? What is pork barrel is what we know in Nigeria as constituency projects. Is what is pushed by your legislators, is what you allow your legislators to put into the budget to mollify or pacify them or give them a role to play. See, politics is the same all over the world, though. America too has constituency projects in their budget. It's not only in Nigeria. So Elon is saying, how would you have allowed so much to be padded into the budget to where your budget is now unrealistically bloated, to where it makes nonsense of all the 100,000 jobs we've cut and all the government spending we've tried to reduce? It makes nonsense of it. Trump, of course, fires back and says, if we remove the subsidies, if we remove the subsidies that Elon's companies are enjoying from government for, reducing greenhouse gases, all his electric initiatives, his SpaceX rockets and all, if we remove the subsidies government is giving him, the budget will fall by almost half. So, I mean, look, this is a very interesting movie playing out, and as we say in Nigeria, let's all grab our popcorn and Coca-Cola and take a seat and watch how it plays out.
Mr. Dayo, we can just keep listening to you. It's quite a brilliant submission you've made there. So, for me, it's just beautiful to see two rich people fighting. Although, when it comes to wealth, one is way more senior than the other. Elon is number one. You have to count over 700 people before you count Trump. But he's the most powerful man in the world. And from the data we're seeing from Forbes, Elon has lost 6% of his wealth, which comes about $27 billion. And they are reporting he has become poorer. I like that kind of poverty.
Jeffrey?
That kind of poverty. So it looks like a situation between two narcissistic, borderline racist megalomaniacs, whether in economic and political sense, falling out on each other. As long as it doesn't affect us, I'm fine, But
by the way, is that a possibility, Mr. Akintobi? Does
it affect us?
Is there any possibility that Africa or Nigeria, because I know that some are reporting from that latest the tax bill might affect payments to Nigeria or something. But do you see any effect on Nigeria whatsoever?
We live in a global village now. Remember, when a butterfly flaps its wings in Singapore, it rains in Namibia. So the world is interconnected. And one thing that happens in one place has a knock-on effect everywhere. So, of course, one way or another, it'll affect us, even if it means the idea of building electric battery components, setting up a factory in Nigeria with to make electric batteries, the idea of moving Nigeria closer and closer to reducing emissions and moving in the direction of electric vehicles, one way or another. Okay, and you've also mentioned that they say the new bill reduces aid and things like that to Nigeria and other countries. I don't see how the idea of reducing government spending in America that has now blown up in their faces based on this disagreement will not have an effect, because there's less money based on this budget Trump is pushing, or they say Congress has actually passed it in the middle of the night, is what Elon is saying. There's less money for America to use to devote to both humanitarian and economic causes around the world. That has a knock-on effect on all developing countries, Nigeria included. So we need to continue looking inwards. I've always said it, that we need to be less dependent on foreign aid, foreign support, look inwards and try to solve our own problems ourselves. So maybe this will be a kick in the pants to get us more in that direction.
Absolutely, Mr. Akintobi. And when you see that new bill seeks to impose a 3.5% tax on money transfers sent by non-citizens to recipients abroad, our $21 billion remittance may also be at risk here. Well, this is a day of prayers. So we can add that to the prayer points as well, because we rely a lot on remittances.
As a matter of fact, well, we just have to brace up. That's why it's important whenever you're projecting and extrapolating as a government, when you see characters like Donald Trump vying for office, you must factor him in. And so that when things happen like this, the shocks are not as heavy as it's supposed to be. Dayo Akintobi is a public affairs analyst joining us virtually. Thank you, sir, as always, for bringing your insight and expertise to the conversation. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure always. Happy Ramadan to all the Muslim faithful and to all Nigerians.
Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. So, just to remind the world and Nigerians that Donald Trump has not done up to good 6 months. The world is already shaking. So we have 3.5 years to go.
More to go, right?
So let's be ready for more shocks. So it's as good as saying this is protectionism. This is idea of America first, which is great in itself. We also have our own Nigeria first in that sense. We must also promote what we have and do what we can to look inward, because the game has changed entirely because of the action of one man.
Absolutely. We'll take a quick break now, but just before we go, let's tell you that in celebration of Eid al-Kabir, you can share your celebratory mode pictures with us. Just use the WhatsApp number on your screen and send us your pictures. How are you celebrating Eid al-Kabir? Are you all dressed up, ready for prayers already? Are you on the prayer ground? Is your ram ready? You can take a selfie with the ram. They are celebrities today, at least for a brief period of time. But the point is, we want to share in the celebration and want to share with the world. So send them in, and we'll promise to put them up for the world to see. So you see the WhatsApp number on the screen.
And that would be something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so the WhatsApp number will be scrolling on your screen as many times as possible, so that you can be part of that celebration. We will be part of your celebration. I think that's the idea. Let's be part of your celebration. But we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to the next leg of the conversation. It has to do with politics. We don't want to miss it. Join us again.